Okay, I think we're starting. I think it's gonna work. Okay, I think we're on. Pretty sure we're on.
Somebody want to check Facebook?
If you are watching us on Facebook right now, we're using the new way that Zoom is choosing to have us stream into groups. And so this is our first time. So Latia says, hi. Latia, are we normal? We can't. Okay, Christy says you guys are on. You're live. Yay, Latia.
Okay, thank you,
We're
team.
good. Look, we got our sweaters.
Right, we put our matching sweaters on that we got at the retreat. We're so excited. And Zoom is working live in Facebook groups. Oh, it's working. Okay. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. I'm gonna open this up in the really fast in my, I want to be able to see the comments. So okay.
I just had to move my Zoom window over. Oh, that's because I'm in the live view. Well, maybe I'm the only one. So you guys might have to pull it up on your phone if you're not the owner or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I had to move my Zoom window over. Oh, that's because I'm in the live view.
Hold
Well,
on, I got an echo.
So you guys might have to pull it up on your phone if you're not the owner or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, is that me?
No, I fixed it.
That was you?
It was me, I think. I was just trying to watch the comments, but I got it.
You can watch the comments, but did you just mute it?
Did I mute it? Did I mute it?
No, like, you can still watch them if you want to. You just have to mute me.
The Facebook. You have to mute on the Facebook. The sound. Mute the sound.
We're
There's a
good.
sound button down in the corner.
We're good. Can everybody still hear us in Facebook? Okay. I think we're good.
Look at all these people on live. You guys are the best.
Okay, we've got Jacqueline, Amy, Latia, Elizabeth's on. Hey, everybody. Christy's on. We're so excited. Okay. We are so excited to do this class today. Coming off the energy of being at the retreat all together. And I'm sure you've seen everybody posting and in stories about the retreat. And it was, I think everybody who went there came home feeling like we want to just live in this energy all the time. We want to be with this community all the time. And so we really wanted to talk about today what we're building here in the Elevated Mother, what the purpose is, and just the necessity for women, especially for really connected spiritual community. So if you think about it, hold on. I'm going to introduce myself really quick. Hi, I'm Missy Reber. I'm one of the Elevated Mother Specialists and elevation specialists and coaches in the program. We've got Cherie on here, wave Cherie. And then we've got Robin, who is the creator of this amazing special space, and we are all so grateful for her. So we've all got our matching team sweatshirts, and then a little later, we're going to interview Megan. So wave Megan. You're going to see Megan on here too. And she is one of our moms inside of our program and came to the retreat. So we're going to get to Megan in a minute. Okay, now that you know who I am, I don't just like start talking. We really wanted to talk about why we created this community, what community is all about, and why this is so special to us. So if you think about it, we all come down here as babies, right? When you're born as a baby, the only community that you have is your mom, right? And all babies learn real quick that they need their moms to survive, right? So they learn to cry when they're hungry. They learn to fuss when they want to be held. And so from our very first existence as little human creatures, we are building community, but we also learn that we start to perform, even as babies, right? We start to say, oh, well, when I do this, my mom gets really excited, right? When I spit or I throw things off my high chair, my mom ain't so happy, right? So we learn from even infancy how to start to pretzel ourselves into what the community wants us to be, right? Even in our families, right? So if you're a middle child, you may pick up from childhood the need to like buffer everybody's feelings or be the peacemaker. So from very early on in our lives, we are looking for a sense of belonging. We're looking to fit into the tribe. But we also know that God created each of us to be uniquely ourselves. So what's interesting as we go along in life, and especially once we hit the marriage and motherhood phase, right? We've been in so many different communities. I mean, think about it from infancy to marriage, how many communities you fit yourself in, right? You fit yourself into the school community. You fit yourself into the church community. You fit yourself into the little like neighborhood gaggle of friends. Did anybody have that? We're like playing kick the can. Did anyone play that? Like we're old. I just super aged myself. But right, you do what is required to fit into the tribe, right? The neighborhood kids kick you out if you don't keep the rules of kick the can, right? Like, so we learn very early on as humans to either hide part of ourselves, make ourselves smaller, quieter, nicer, whatever it is to fit into the community. And that's a normal human behavior because we need it. We can't survive by ourselves. It doesn't feel good to survive by ourselves. And so that's just a natural thing you do. So what's interesting though, is by the time you hit marriage and motherhood, we have sometimes this tendency to what I like to call fragment ourselves, right? If any of you have read Harry Potter, it's like Horcruxes, right? Like we end up splitting ourselves to fit into these communities. So, you know, in the scriptures, they talk about marriage, right? And you're supposed to become one flesh. And it becomes problematic when we start to really pretzel ourselves so much into our marriage relationship, even that we start to forget who we really are. And we start to set all of our wants, needs, desires, and dreams aside in order to what we perceive as to fit into the tribe, right? To fit into the marriage, to make everything works. So you can see where a lot of us Christian moms who have these deep-seated beliefs, like we believe in marriage, we believe in family, we believe in community, but it can become problematic when all of a sudden our identities, all the pieces of ourselves are wrapped up in the tribe more than ourselves. So then you start adding kids to the mix, right? Now that is a whole other can of worms, right? So you start having these individual little spirits pop up into your life and into your family, and you're giving and giving and giving, and you're trying to pretzel yourself as a mom into what each child needs. I can't even tell you how many times I've had a heated conversation with God about my capabilities of raising 6 different children. I was like, how exactly did you think I could manage that? So here's the thing. A lot of times you start to get into marriage, into motherhood, and you start to feel, raise your hand, hit me up in the comments if you have felt like this. You start to feel like you've lost yourself. And you're like, I literally had a time where I was like, I don't even know what kind of food I like anymore. I just eat my kids' half-eaten sandwiches and leftover chicken nuggets. And our identities become so wrapped up in the tribe that we've created, right? We created that small army. We're proud of that small army. We take ownership and we find identity in the small army of humans that we created, in the marriage that we've created, in the communities we've put ourselves in. But God never intended us as women to be erased into our tribes. And so a lot of times in life, we do this backwards, right? It's all good intention. We want community. We need it to thrive, but we all too often get to mid-motherhood and we've pretzeled ourselves into so many communities that our identity becomes obscure to us. We're like, who am I? What do I want? What do I need? I don't even know. So I'm sure all of you have hit a day in motherhood where you're like, okay, did I really sign up? Did I sign up for this? Is this what I chose to make? And you start to feel unsettled. Maybe you start to feel overwhelmed. Maybe you all of a sudden are going to church or into your communities or even the grocery store. Have you ever had that feeling where you're in a sea of people, but you don't feel like you belong there? And you're like, you do, right? And so this is the weirdness of motherhood, is you're surrounded by little people all day. You're immersed in your community. You're immersed in your extended family. You're immersed in your friends. You're immersed in your church. But yet you end up feeling very alone. Why is that? Why is it that we're surrounded by people and community, but we end up feeling alone, or we end up feeling stuck? I know that I came into Robin's space and all I could say in my frustration was, I don't know, Robin, I just feel stuck. And this is a theme we hear a lot as women come in to Elevated Mother. They want to love the life that they built. They want to feel this sense of accomplishment. They want to feel the sense of ease and joy in motherhood. And like, where did it go? And so it's, if you've ever had those days where you're just overwhelmed or you're just feel alone inside of motherhood, you're not alone. You're not alone. And so the work here is really asking yourself, where is my tribe? Like, how do I even create that? And how do I, in spaces where I'm at, actually allow myself to belong? Actually, truly be in spaces where you feel like you belong. And so when you're feeling in this stuck place, what's the way out? So Robin, thank you, Robin. Robin was in this place herself. She was a reactive mom. I mean, I was that too, right? Like, you're like, why am I yelling at my kids? Why am I frustrated and stuck in my life? Why am I frustrated with my husband? I picked him. He was really cute 20 years ago. I'm kidding. He's still cute. But you know what I mean? Like, we get in our lives and we want to feel different, but we just don't. We want to feel like we belong in our own lives and in our communities, but we don't. So how do we fix that? How do we shift that? The first thing that we teach our clients is to come back home to themselves. And we talked about this concept at the retreat of the queen bee. And it's like something I'm literally going to like tattoo it to my body because I need to remember, like put it on my forehead or something. But I've been studying the queen bee. My name is actually Melissa. So it's like, my name actually means honeybee in Greek. I'm like, God's like really honing this in on me. He's like, you're going to learn this. I'm going to name you that, like literally name you that. So, but here's the thing that I realized in doing this work in Elevated Mother. The queen bee, right? You guys are the queen bee of your hive. You've got all these things buzzing through your life. You've got community people like buzzing in and out of your life. Your life is like the hive. So does anybody know what the queen bee actually does? This is my favorite. Let's all blow our minds. Ready? The queen bee actually sits in the center of the hive. Yeah, I know y'all probably don't sit down often, but let's just hold space for this idea for just a minute. So the queen bee literally gets fed the best food. So that's like not the scraps of the peanut butter sandwich, guys. The best food, okay? She gets fed the royal jelly. She gets taken care of by attendants. So her own little queen bee tribe of friends, they're like, okay, we're all going to take care of the queen bee. And then she mates. Okay, well, we do that too. We'll talk about that on another call. And she sits there, and when she is so deeply nourished and taken care of, she literally lets off a pheromone and an energy that calms the hive. It literally is the energetic buzz that goes out of the hive and regulates everything that goes on in the hive. And when I sat with this concept, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the problem. We have lost our identity as the queen bee. We've turned ourselves into worker bees, and we're like leaving and we're trying to like solve the world's problems, but what we really need to do is come back to ourselves. And I don't know about you, but when was the last time you asked yourself, like, what do you need? What do you want? How do you feel? And when was the last time you even considered the idea that your needs not might actually need to like be added to the list, but they need to be at the top, like the top of the list? And what would happen? I think we all feel like it's like a game of Jenga, right? Anyone else feel like motherhood's like Jenga? We're like, ooh, can I pull this one? Is it all gonna fall down today? It's like one meltdown. You're like, okay, is that one meltdown gonna like topple the whole thing? Happens at my house all the time. But here's the thing is like, we have forgotten like that God made us the queen bee. We came first, guys, before the kids, before the army of humans we created. But we've pretzeled ourselves and we've put on masks, right? We go into different communities and we like put on masks and we're like, okay, I'm going to put on my happy face and I'm going to go to church. I'm going to put on my I'm totally fine face and go to the grocery store. And this is how we live our lives. So if you need to be the queen bee and your family needs you centered and happy and well fed and nurtured, like all of us are like, okay, well, how do I actually do that? I hear you. I get it conceptually, but in the Jenga game of motherhood every single day, how do you actually shift that? How do you actually start to call back the pieces of your identity that you've like thrown into your extended family and you've thrown into church and you've thrown into each of your kids? This is the point of creating community, a space where you can feel safe to come home to yourself. So yes, we are a tribe of women who are deeply connected to each other, who've created that safe space, but the actual safe space that is being created in the elevated mother is the mother. It's each one of you. It's doing the work to come home to yourself, to really be like, wow, I have been people pleasing my whole life, or wow, I'm over functioning in my marriage and doing everything, which leaves zero room for my spouse to do anything. Problem. Right? Or, hey, I've given so much identity to my kids that anytime they act out, I feel personally attacked. That was me. That was me. I couldn't even tell my kids no. And I was so frustrated. I was like, Robin, why can't I tell my kids no? And she's like, okay, let's come back to yourself. And I didn't even realize what I was doing. But here's the thing. Who wants to sit and look at all the ways they've stepped outside of themselves, by themselves? So Robin, bless her, every day I'm grateful for Robin. Robin was doing this work by herself, coming home to herself, figuring this out, how to elevate her mindset, how to stop being so attached to her kids and being reactive. And she was like, you know what? I think I can help other moms do this. And so here we are. And here we are. That's what this group is for. And I think everybody who went to the retreat or who has been in the elevated mother experience space feels this feeling of, is it really safe? Is it really safe for me to be in a group of women and start to like take off my masks, not pretend, not have to worry about what other people think? Because if you really ask yourself, how many spaces do you have in your life where you buffer yourself? Robin looked me straight in the eye when I came into this program and she's like, you are hiding everywhere. And I was like, ugh. And she was right. And I even had this conversation with my spouse and he was like, I'm not sure you have ever really let me see you. Guys, we've been married almost 22 years. And the truth in that statement was shockingly real. So the reason we feel like we don't belong, even though we're in all the different places, is because we're actually not being ourselves. And so many of us have forgotten who ourselves are because we've just been giving ourselves to everybody else. So this group, this mission, this is the space. This is the space for you to bring your messy Jenga game and be like, okay, guys, here we go. And start to build yourself back up at the base of it. And to realize that it is actually safe to come home to yourself. It's safe. And there actually can be a place where women don't compete against each other, where women don't tear each other down in the most vulnerable moments of their lives. There is a space where you can say, I'm struggling here. Because the truth is, life was not meant to come down here and be this easy space, because God sent us down here to elevate. And elevation takes some, digging. And it takes some stripping away of things that we don't actually believe in or resonate with us. But that work was never meant to be done alone. It's important that we do our own work, but we were meant to be part of a tribe. The world has just taught us that tribe doesn't actually exist. It's taught us to fight each other and to compare ourselves to each other. So what would actually happen if you could be held in that kind of a space? And that's what this is. And you also have to believe that other women are capable of doing the same thing. And I'll be honest, like, this was my second retreat. And even the first retreat, I went and I was like bracing myself. I was like, can it really be true? Like, could women really be that good to each other? Could they really be that vulnerable and be comfortable there? I wasn't sure that it existed, but I'm willing to believe that it is. And I'm willing to tell you that that is what everybody came out of the retreat feeling. And like, could it really be true? And I looked at Robin and I was like, it's really this good. It really happened. And when women vision together that this idea, this level of love and compassion and rawness can exist, we can bring it into existence. And that's what we're doing here. So that takes personal work on every single one of your parts, of coming into this space and being willing to say, I'm going to come home to myself. And that work is not always easy or comfortable. But we want you to know that there's room at this table for you. And there really is a space where you can be that vulnerable, and that you can say, I'm done pretzeling myself into the tribes of the world. I'm done. And start taking the pieces of yourself back from your kids and be like, yeah, I'm here to take care of my kids, but I am not my kids' behavior. Same goes for your spouse. You're married to your spouse, but you are not your spouse or what they choose. And you don't have to pretzel yourself and put on masks when you go out into the world. And the weird thing is when you actually start to feel that come back to yourself, you really do vibrate and exist on this elevated level where no matter what tribe you then go back into, whether that's church, whether that's the grocery store, whether that's the PTA, when you walk into that room, when you're back centered in yourself and you feel like you have people to support you in that, your confidence grows. And so when you enter back out into the world, there isn't this fear anymore, of rejection, or I have to hide so I fit here, because the knowing is coming from yourself, right? You're the queen bee and you're like, I'm the queen, everybody's the queen. And so there's no competition anymore. And so you walk different, you speak different, you deal with conflict different. Everything becomes different when you come home to yourself. And all of a sudden, you can believe that you belong in all of those spaces. And you don't have to pretzel yourself and you don't have to change. You don't have to make everybody comfortable. But that's because you've done the internal work. And that is what we're doing in this tribe. So do you want to do Q&A with Megan real fast? Are we ready? Okay. So I am going to bring Megan on. Megan has been in our program for a while now. She is in Elevated Mother Experience and our Solid Ground Mastermind. And so I'm just going to take a minute and interview Megan about her experience in being in this crazy tribe. All right, Megan. What were you feeling in your life in motherhood that originally brought you into this space?
Yeah. First off, thank you for all your words. Like, a lot of that just so resonates with me. And it actually explains a lot of where I was at. Honestly, as I was kind of sitting here thinking, I just visualized myself kind of just coated with mud. Like I just was so overwhelmed. Um, I I've done a lot of things in the past, and it would kind of help me kind of clear some of that mud, or it would kind of help me, kind of felt like I could catch my breath for a minute. And then, but I was never able to kind of get all that mud off. I was just always kind of like trudging through this, like, this dark place. And I just feel like um, wanting to just be like, no, I want this gone. Like, I don't want to be um, living in a place anymore where I'm just like barely getting by. Like, I just really felt like I was just there with kind of this like fog, and um, I was barely like maintaining my life in a sense. And I had just had a baby like a year before that. And so I was just kind of trying to get out of that as well. So I just kind of felt like I was coming from a place of, um, I just kind of lost my identity all over again. I feel like there were times where I would kind of like have a glimpse of that identity, of coming home to myself, but I never fully felt that. Um, but I was kind of just tired of it. Like I have 5 kids, so it's like every time I have a kid, it just like throws me back into that. And I was like, I'm so done like living for 30 something years like this.
Yeah, I mean, I resonate. I think all of us at some point when we've spent our lives pretzeled into other spaces trying to survive, our souls eventually will scream at us, right? We'll start to feel anxiety or we'll start to feel overwhelm or whatever that feeling is. Most moms will be like, I feel stuck. Like I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
I was just like you, Meg. And so I like you, just came into the program. So when you came into the program, what part has really stuck out to you that has of being part of the community that has really helped you shift out of that overwhelm and really heal that loss of identity for yourself?
Oh my gosh, there's like so many things, but I'll try to just keep it to what's on my mind. Um, so I think for me, I I loved that there really is just like a space held for you, and it really doesn't matter what you're going through. Like it's not just like it's situational. It's like, oh, if you fit into this box, then we can help you. It really crosses over to all areas of your life, and that's something I love is it's basically like the things that you're following, it like just helps all areas of your life. Like it's so cool. And I'm realizing as I'm like helping one area of my life, like maybe it's financial or something, it trickles into like my mothering and my relationships and just how I show up and how things like that. So I love that space that truly is held for wherever you are at. It does not matter where you're at on that elevation um path or whatever you want to call that. Like I when I came into the group too, I didn't feel threatened by other people's elevation looking different than mine. I think I had moments where judgment, when you're not used to being comfortable with not having that judgment, if that makes any sense. I still feel like there was judgment that was coming, and I would kind of choose when I wanted to like feed that or not. And so there were moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this feels a little like weird to go from not belonging to like finding that place where you truly believe you belong, if that makes any sense. But honestly, like anytime there was almost like that feeling that I was almost judging myself, I feel like there was always that person that said something or that helped me feel like, no, 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 like we don't need to judge this. You don't need to judge yourself, and we're not judging you. And so it was really cool that even when that was creeping in, it never fully went into this like judgment cycle in a sense, like that unhealthy
Yeah, I love
judgment
that.
cycle. I like the wording. I'm like struggling with my wording, but
No, you're doing great. I think you're so right, because I think a lot of people are, it's this feeling of, it's the sisterhood wound, right? We're like, is it really safe to trust each other as women?
Yeah.
Like, can I really let my guard down? And we are so good, like you were saying, about judging ourselves. Like that's the problem, right? We come in and we're in so much judgment for ourselves that of course we think that other women are going to judge us, right? So it's
Yeah.
really believing, like, can it actually be true that there could be a space where no matter what problem, and I loved that you mentioned that, Megan, because it's a system that works for all things, right? It's a program that it doesn't matter if you want to build your income in your business, or if you're struggling with your marriage, or you're struggling being reactive with your kids, right? I love what you said there. You pointed out, you're like, when you start to work through the program, it trickles into every area of your life. And it didn't matter which woman came in with different goal. Everybody is in that same space of holding space for each other and supporting each other rather than judging each other. So was that surprising to you when you came in?
Yeah. So I've been a part of lots of things. Like this is not new for me to be a part of groups. I've done coaching. I've been coached. I've been a part of a lot of things. And although there were like so many great things in those things, and I really felt like it kind of helped me get to a place where I was receptive to this group. So I'm like grateful for a lot of past things, but there was kind of always something missing for me. And there was still just that like competitive energy and very like get to the top, like you worry about yourself and just get yourself to the top and kind of leave everyone else kind of behind. I don't know, like I never really fully felt that like true sisterhood. And even like in a church space, I've really struggled to feel truly connected with many women. I've had kind of like betrayal with friendships and things. So for me, it was like really hard for me to trust women again. And so I did go into it kind of being like, I trusted Missy because I like joined because she really sparked something in me that I was like, okay, maybe I'll give this a try. And she's like, I promise, like, it is so amazing in there. And I was like, okay, I'm trusting Missy that like, this really is like what she's saying it is. And it really is. Like, honestly, like the friendships that I have created, I've only been in the group like what, like 6 months. Like a lot has happened in those 6 months. Like basically like everything was falling apart when before I joined the group. And now I look at my life and it's like I have everything that I was asking for even like a year ago. Like even before I came into this program, it's like I was wanting, like if my life looked like this, I would be so happy. And I look at it now and I'm like, I have everything right now that I want. And I love though that I can continue to have a vision and to continue to be like, okay, now this is my vision. And now this is like, it doesn't ever have to end. It's like, it's a continual, you know, I would say it's like faith. It's literally faith in action, like faith in real time. Cause I think sometimes we can connect faith to certain things, or we're like, faith is just like a word. It just kind of floats around and it's like, have faith. But it's like, what does that even mean? And honestly, like something I've loved about this group is it is like faith. Like it's helping you just like live your life in faith, and you're just cycling through that faith. And so your reality is kind of shifting as you're changing that and continuing to live in faith.
So I love that. And I know everyone comes into the program and we have a whole process for this of how we help you figure out what you actually want as a mom because you don't know. And so
Some of
Megan's
us are
here.
confused.
Yeah,
So yeah.
we're all let's be honest, we're all confused because we just do, I mean, literally every day I have to practice myself asking myself, what do you want, Missy? Like, and giving myself permission to actually do the things that I desire. And I love that Megan pointed this out. She's like, the things that I came in wanting 6 months later, I have, and it's because she elevated her faith. So here's my last question, Megan. How do you feel that the other women in the group made that possible by adding their faith to yours, right? So this is what I want to portray to people. Like we're walking this faith journey, we're trying to grow on our own. Like, why was that such a difference maker for you to have other women standing in faith with you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've gone many years of like doing things on my own. And although sometimes you're like, that was cool, like it's really hard to be everything for yourself. Like you really can't. You like we're not meant to. And even in our families, like you were talking about, Missy, like our families have a role, but like they're not meant to do everything that like other communities or like just strictly a woman's group. Like my husband cannot be for me what a mom friend can be. Like he just can't, and that's okay. And I'm learning that. So for me, I feel like it was so I like again, I'm a very visual person. I almost look at this like oh like a generator. I don't know, just almost like plugging into all these sources and like just like generating so much light and so much energy. And for me, I think that's been a big thing too, is the light and the energy, the vibration that has come from that collective feeling, whether we were in person, whether we do our online calls. I feel like honestly, I've experienced amazing experiences on both. You don't necessarily just have to be in person to receive beautiful connection and like that vibration. So for me, it really rose that vibration where maybe I couldn't for myself or I didn't know how to. And then when others were struggling, it just kind of kept everyone kind of being like, no, like let's keep going. Like, and it didn't matter if somebody was somewhere else. Like we were just kind of like, nope, let's just all keep going. Like, so to me, it's like, even though the elevation looked different, the elevating looked different, like we were all continuing to do it. And I think for me, there was beauty in the numbers and just in the vibration that as a whole everyone's bringing. Like it's something that I can't achieve that on my own. And I saw the beauty in that, even though I tried to create that for many years.
I love that. So that's like the return of what I like to call the red tent, right? In the Bible, they talk about the red tent where all the women would literally go and like bleed together, but it wasn't just that, it was the swapping of stories. It was the holding compassion and space for each other. And I love that you mentioned that. It's like just because we're online, people are like, oh, can it really work that way? Even though we're not in person, it really can. It really can, and it really does. So I love that you shared that experience. Robin, do you have anything else you want to ask Megan, or do we want to move into Q&A?
We can move into Q&A.
You want to take away that part? Take it away.
Sure. I don't really know how, we just ask the people in the comments. We've had some really good comments made, by the way, like super good. I hope everyone reads them all. Does anyone have any specific questions about this? I know that Elizabeth made a really good comment in here. Marcy made a really good comment in here. Heidi resonated with Cherie's comment about feeling alone, even though she was in a room full of people, laying next to her husband, like that kind of stuff. There's so many good comments. So I don't know if I want to just touch on those or if anyone wants to put something in the comments. There's a lag, like it'll take us sometimes 15, 20 seconds to see your question. But if you guys have specific scenarios, specific struggles, we would love to explore that with you on this call. I have a personal context I can share. Anything at all. And even the coaches, Cherie and Missy, like if you have frequently asked questions that you get from people, I'm going to share one right now. We have a new client in the Elevated Mother Experience as of yesterday, and her like top concern, she's requested to be pretty anonymous because of her connections in the community and stuff like that. It might change after this program. Her willingness to be seen, but her top concern was this. She's like, you talk about vulnerability, and that just is so scary to me. I don't even know if I could even be good in your program because I don't know if I can swallow this idea that you're telling me about that people might know things that are hard for me. And that was her biggest concern. And yet through what we talked about, she decided to live in faith. That's one of the things she wants to do. And she decided to join the program. So I know that this is a concern that people have. Is it really that good? Can it really exist? You know, can this really be a thing that we can just love each other fully with no agendas? Like, really? So that's just something I had to say. Cherie, did you have something? I saw you come off mute a little bit ago.
Oh, I was just gonna say exactly what you said. We're like, what are some of our frequently asked questions? But then you said it. So, yeah, no, that's all I was.
Okay.
So maybe too, we can clarify, inside the program, we have our Elevated Mother Experience. So this is our free group where we're live. So we teach in here frequently, usually every Friday. But the way we create that level of vulnerability and ability for you to feel comfortable sharing the hard things in your life, because that doesn't come easily, right? Because a lot of us have, friendship wounds where we haven't had people that can hold space for our hard things. We haven't had a place where we can really confide in someone knowing that we're not going to be judged or it's not going to be passed on in gossip, right? Because let's be honest, that happens a lot in the world. So the way we do that inside of our program is we do have one-on-one coaching. And that is actually fairly unique to our program. And a lot of coaching programs are moving away from that. But as coaches and as the creator, Robin feels strongly that this is a really important thing. So you get multi-levels of this deep holding space, right? So you get to work one-on-one in a private call, private space with Cherie or Christy, who's not on here. Hi, Christy. Christy, Cherie, Robin, or I, in those one-on-one calls. And then we do group calls. So it does take different people a minute, a little while to be able to gain their footing in that safe space and realize that it really is that safe of a space. So there's a level of sharing that you can do on a one-on-one call with a personal coach. And there's a level of sharing, whatever you're comfortable with sharing in the group setting. So you really get a beautiful match of both of those inside the EMX program. And I think that allows women to really build that sense of trust and vulnerability in the program and feel like their deepest needs are being met inside of that space. So I know we have.
I love that Amy brought up, she's like, I was afraid that it would be a kid bashing or a husband bashing space because we see that. You get together with the girlfriends on a weekend. I've seen this. Like you go out to eat together or you go on this thing and it turns into kind of well, my husband does this and da da da. And you're like, okay, I don't know that this is anyway. And it's like, hey, I'm having an issue here. But what's so beautiful is through the framework, as you're coming home to yourself, you start realizing how much of the feelings you're experiencing, it's your responsibility. This isn't about your husband and your kid and your in-laws and whatever. It's your choices to feel that way. And we were just like, what? We were like, nobody can make you feel something. You know what I mean? And we gradually help you get to that place where it's like, oh, I do take full ownership of Robin. I'm taking full ownership of Robin. And the more I came home to myself, the more that I was in this space of like, wow, nobody can make me feel anything. I better stop even saying that to my kids. I realized that was something that I actually grew up with. Say, hearing parents say, you make me so mad. You made me get up in the night. Now I'm tired and now I'm grumpy. Because you did this thing, I feel. And I've learned, and my parents are wonderful people, but it was a modeling. And I had to do some scripture study and do the searching and go, oh, nobody makes me do anything. Like, I have agency here. The way my life goes is up to me. What? That can feel heavy, but it was also equally, strangely enough, super empowering. Be like, oh. So we may speak about things you're working through with your kid, your husband, your faith, whatever it is. Yet we will always help you to come back and say, okay, what within you is asking that this should be hard, is different, is difficult. And it's become so empowering that you literally start elevating. And then the community sees this, and the community starts holding you to your highest capacity and love. And just to see example after example after example, as Elizabeth put in here, she's like, man, I'm in the program, and man, it's taken a while. I'm like, yes. But isn't it beautiful that you know it exists? You have front seat witness that this is real. This is the Zion, right? Ladies, I always talk about it, that Isaiah talks about, where we give and we take and we are all full because we remain in our wholeness. And it's so, so beautiful to see this just in our life, in our world today. Any other comments from Missy or Cherie?
I just want to add to that too. That really is the difference. That's why we call it an elevated mother. Is we know that it's hard to look at yourself and say, I'm why I yell at my kids. What part am I playing in the cycles in my marriage that aren't helpful? It's hard to look at yourself and change sometimes. And it can be equally as vulnerable to show up in a space and be like, I yelled at my kid. And we're used to, one, not admitting that to people, and two, being judged for it and judging ourselves for it. So this is the difference, is in the elevated mother, we're not going to be like, gosh, she yelled at her kids. That's not what happens. You come in, you're like, I had a horrible morning with my kids. And you get to be surrounded by women that say, yep, me too. I've been there too. There's no judgment. And those women aren't just going to say, we don't judge you. They're going to say, don't judge yourself. When was the last time you were in a space where when you had judgment for yourself, someone was willing to reflect back to you your goodness rather than judging yourself with you? And when people are constantly telling you, you can do this, you can grow through this, you can approach your kids in an elevated way, it gives you faith in yourself to change. Because when you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed in motherhood, you do not want to admit that you're choosing it. It feels, like Robin said, it feels heavy to look at yourself. But ultimately, when you have women telling you, you are good, that's who you are. It gives you courage, and it gives you, right? It gives you that Jenga foundation to stand on when you feel like all your pieces are falling off. And eventually, when people are willing to reflect that back to you over and over and over again, you can start to believe that about yourself again. You can start to say, okay, I'm in charge of my dreams. I can change my pattern in my marriage. I can choose to show up differently for my teenager when they're not doing what I ask, right? And you can choose to look at yourself and you can have the courage to do that and have women around you that aren't going to be like, see, I told you so. You were just going to yell again. When you yell again, because we all will, we won't let you go back there. And that's been the biggest change that I've seen in myself from being in this community is like, oh, when my old stories show up and I'm like, wow, that just came raging back out of my mouth. I now, instead of running from community and like hiding what I did or how I feel, I go straight back to community and I'm like, guys, this came back up for me again. And they're like, okay, let's hold you to the better choice. Let's hold you to the better story. So it's not just you holding yourself to a better you. You now have a community that will do that for you and they won't let you fall backwards. Because falling backwards is normal, right? Because it takes a while for our brains to say, oh, I can react to my kid's tantrum in a different way. Probably the first 5 times, you're not going to be able to react differently because your brain's trained. But when you're in a group like this, who's like, keep going, take responsibility over and over, all of a sudden you're going to have a moment. And this is the best part of the group where someone finally reacts differently when they've been working on this. And they get in the group and they're like, you guys, kid when they were screaming on the floor in Walmart. And like, where else can you go and admit that you didn't criticize your spouse? Who is going to cheer for you? We are. We're going to be like, yes, you did it. Right? Like that's the internal work that we don't share. Nobody shares that. Nobody shares the work you do on the inside to forgive somebody and to release those emotions out of your body. Like nobody claps when you do that. But that's what this is. It's that tent. It's bring it all in, guys. Bleed, cry, fall apart. And then when you pick up your pieces and you move forward, because that once you get in this group, the only way through is forward. Like no mom has come out of this experience. That's why we call it. It's like an experience. It is like an embodied, like mind, body, spirit, your whole life experience. That's why we call it elevated. We say this in the program. Once you know, you know. Like once you learn the skills, they're yours forever to take. We hope that if you come in, you won't ever want to leave like the rest of us. We're like, we're here forever. But that's what's cool is all of a sudden you're going to come in and you're going to grow and you just take that with you forever. You can't unknow it. And then the community that you learned exists, the belonging that you feel, you can then go and take into your church space, into your neighborhood space. And so just imagine for a minute the ripple effect that comes out of just you changing you and coming home to yourself. Because you'll be like, hey, I know women can be this good. You're going to go out and help other women wherever you go be that good. And you're going to hold people to that standard, that elevated standard. So our shirts, we'll show them. We say one changed mom changes generations. And it's true. The ripple effect of one mom coming into this program and changing herself is like massive. We can't even quantify it. And so coming home from the retreat, it was actually Megan who sat on the couch in her tears and was like, where are all the other moms? Like they need to come in. And that's where this call was born. Like we know what we have. We want you to know what we have here and that it really is, it really exists. And we want everybody to have it. So here we are.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We do. I'm like, I told a girl this morning that's considering the program, like, I want you at this table. We want you in this room. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing, the collective consciousness that we're building. I know that that's a term that may or may not be something that you hear about, but the collective consciousness, when you have a collective of people that believe a certain way, they act a certain way, it literally creates, like the queen bee, like a vibration that just can pulse out, and it helps everything. Everything. As I put in the comments, the biggest lie that we've ever been told is that we are separate from God, separate from ourselves, separate from people. We are all connected, my friends. We really are. I know that sounds cliche, like something from an 80s movie. We are all connected. But like, it's true. And Christy was like, man, I've done so much. Gosh, yeah, she had like degrees, like, right? Scientific studies that are like, oh, a person heals when they come back to having meaningful connections. I know this guy named Jesus Christ that talked about that over 2,000 years ago. Okay? And it's Satan that says, no, you should be separate. You're all separate. You're alone. When we come back to that connectedness that never really left in the first place, we just bought into some idea that it was. And when we come home to ourselves, we realize that Missy and Cherie and Marcy and Christy and Megan and Cindy and all the people, you're like, oh, I can mirror, like they say in yoga, namaste, right? The light in me sees the light in you. We are all part of the same light. What the heck was I thinking, trying to go somewhere else? Like, once we come back together, that collective consciousness gets stronger and stronger, and the connections just, we're a force to be reckoned with, I'll tell you what. So good. Guys, thank you for being on this call. Sit with this information. Ask yourself, what would I love? Missy says, what do you want? I say, what would you love? It's all the same. What would you love? What would you really love this next 6 months of your life to be like? How much longer are you going to allow the reactiveness and all of this stuff to just be something you're like trying to not do? And I'm like, let's go. Let's go. Take the leap of faith, join the program. It will be literally a hinge point in your life where you're like, I remember when things changed. That was when I did Robin's program. That's when I did this thing with those coaches, is when everything changed for me. And I know that that will be your story. I know that it will be your story. No one that's been through this program has ever said, oh, I didn't get anything. Nothing changed in my life. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So beautiful. All right, guys, have an amazing weekend. Enjoy yourselves. We hope to hear from you. We want to get on calls with you and really enlarge our circle of the Elevated Mother. Have a wonderful day.